How's it going? Adam here. Just wanted to take a minute to talk about one of my favorite production techniques today, which is creating effects drums. I really like doing this. It's a great way to sort of instantly change up the vibe of the arrangement that you're working on. And, I kind of like to think of it as almost like a scene change. You're putting the listener in a totally different space for, a short amount of time. Now, this is timely because 12 Days in June, one of the projects I work with, just put out a new song this week called Saint Alphonsus, in which I do this right in the intro, just kind of setting the stage for the whole thing. And, there's definitely some Nine Inch Nails influence going on here, which is very near and dear to my heart, as you may know. Anyway, let's just check out what we're working with today. You kind of get the idea. Important to note, I didn't mix this song. These are the raw tones that we were working with that you're hearing right now. As you can see, there's almost nothing going on. I've got some stuff happening on the master bus here, this band group. There's some saturation and a compressor on the snare. Otherwise, no plugins on the main drums and just the effects plugins on the effects drums. Taking a look at the drums by themselves. I'm just so happy with how these turned out. Now there is some EQ, especially on the close mics, mostly courtesy of the Lindell API style channel strip. A little bit of tape saturation and, general bleed cleanup, housekeeping sort of things. But as a starting point, I think that's amazing. And I think it translated really well to the final mix too. So all good things there. Now for the effects bus. I really love the way that overlaps too. I'm proud of that moment. The drums sound really small. I didn't decide to mono them this time. They're definitely still stereo feeling, but in general, I was just trying to make them sound crunchy and I guess a little evil. But that's coming from exactly 3 plugins. So let's take those off. And that's what those drums sound like raw, which again, same processing I applied to the main kit, all went to these same tracks. I tried to treat it as if, I was working on a console and the settings that were on those individual channels, anything that I recorded through them went through those same EQ moves. But this is part of the reason why I always do this as an overdub and not just like a copy of the main drums or maybe playing it into the main drums. Not only does that remove the opportunity for me to play over them, just like I did here, to, smooth out a transition like that. But it's a good opportunity to redress the drum kit a little bit. Sometimes this is really drastic and I'll set up a completely different kit. In this case, I had a muffling ring on the snare drum that I took off. I moved the pillows inside the bass drum away from the heads just so that it was a little bit more boomy. And I put 2 19-inch crash cymbals on my hi-hat stand. That's one of those things that it's so much fun that sometimes I go looking for an excuse just to do that because I think it sounds awesome. All right, so that's the kit setup. Let's take a look at what the actual plugins are doing here. So again, 3 little things. And every time that I'm doing this, it's usually some variation on this kind of stack. Okay, so first up is Mishby, or Maybe I Shouldn't Have Built You by Freak Show Industries. This thing is fucking insane. I'm sure you can see just from the interface that this is not a normal device. Everything that these guys make is kind of really off the wall and excellent tools for sound design. But what this is essentially doing is, so many tape emulations try their hardest to copy the good stuff that we want, the warmth, the high frequency compression, the, pleasant saturation character, that stuff. This is dedicated to recreating all of the bad parts of tape recording. So really egregious harmonic distortion, intermodulation distortion, desynchronization. You can very easily get really destructive with this thing. I'll just kind of twiddle a few things here and show you kind of what the vibe is. I love that there's a noise knob. It's just... it is noise, isn't it? Real quick, I'll just cycle through a couple of the presets that I've made here too. It's just an incredible tool for really fucking things up. I don't always use Mishby. It is, I mean, I'm sure you can see by the stupid smile I have on my face how much I love this plugin, but sometimes I will do this with like an amp sim. Sometimes I'll go to the trouble of actually setting up a guitar amp and, running the left and right sides through it. When you're creating a noisy moment like this, it's a perfect opportunity to just kind of like grab whatever's on hand and go, I don't know, let's try this today. So that's definitely like the approach that I take with this, but Mishby was doing the trick for me on this song. So that's obviously introducing a lot of mud and really general unpleasantness. I mean, the point is to be unpleasant here, but I almost always, whatever distortion device I'm using, I'm heavily filtering afterwards. So usually I like to pull up this phone preset inside of Pro Q and just grab all the points and sort of, sweep them around until I find the character that I'm kind of looking for in the drums. That can actually go a pretty long way in, how close or far away this effect feels from you. So that's kind of an important thing to keep in mind. And, I'm trying to keep things small deliberately because I want the song to kind of explode when the rest of the kit comes in. There's other times where I might be a little bit less aggressive with this kind of filter because I want the drums to feel like really big, bombastic, and totally blown out. It really depends on the tune I'm working on. So that's sounding really cool. Now I just want to get it louder and sort of, glue the drums together a little bit. So let's compress it. I like distressors a lot, and I'm really fast with them, so it's usually one of the first things I reach for, and this is no different. And yeah, I'm just kind of slamming it until it feels cohesive. And, like anything, you can push it to that point where it doesn't sound good anymore. But, right around there, knocking the snare back 7 or 8 dB really starts to glue the whole thing together for me. But yeah, that's kind of all there is to it. Let's listen to it one more time in context with everything. it's a unique way to kind of set the stage for things. And I know I'm hardly the first person to ever do this sort of thing. My background is primarily in post-hardcore and stuff, and that is rampant all over that genre. But this is the kind of thing that I think about a lot. How can I change the perspective of the listener for a moment? How can I change the feel of the song? Do I need to change the feel of the song? And in general, my guiding principle is, if it sounds cool, it is cool. Yeah, so that's kind of it for this one. I hope you check out the song. I'm really happy with how it came out. And, we have a record coming out in 3 weeks. That sounds right. I'll put links wherever links go and stuff. You can check it out as you please. Thanks for hanging out with me. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you feel inspired to experiment with some of this stuff. Run things through guitar amps and see what happens. I'll see you around.